Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into Navalny, an illuminating exploration of the life and burgeoning political career of Alexei Navalny, a pivotal figure in contemporary Russian politics. This biography is not just a tale of a man, but also a window into the political landscape of modern Russia. It chronicles Navalny's ascent, his vision for Russia's future, and the enormous challenges he faces in a political climate marked by intrigue, opposition, and danger. The authors, Matti, Dollbaum, Morvan, Lallouet, and Ben Noble, bring a wealth of expertise to the subject. Dollbaum, a postdoctoral researcher at Bremen University, specializes in Russian society, with a keen focus on grassroots movements. Lallouet, a Doctor of Philosophy candidate investigating Russian politics at the University of Kent, offers deep insights into the mechanisms of power in Russia. Noble, serving as a lecturer in Russian politics at University College London, examines the nuanced interplay between authoritarianism, legislative politics, and comparative politics in Russia's post-Soviet sphere. This book is essential reading for anyone looking to grasp the complex dynamics of Russian politics and society. It is especially relevant for outsiders seeking to understand the intricacies of life in Russia, political thinkers grappling with the nature of power in a post-Soviet world, and all those who are deeply invested in the future trajectory of global governance. Join us as we uncover the story of a man who has become the face of opposition in Russia, and what his journey tells us about the struggle for power and change in a land marked by its tumultuous history and ongoing political drama. Navalny, Putin's Nemesis, Russia's Future. Introduction: Unveiling the Challenger, Alexei Navalny's Political Crusade. In the vast political landscape of Russia, where the helm has been steadfastly held by Vladimir Putin, emerges a figure poised to challenge the status quo. His name is Alexei Navalny. This political outlier has rapidly ascended as the most significant threat to the established order, sparking curiosity and intrigue worldwide. Narrative of a reformer, the Navalny effect. Embark on an exploration into the life and ambitions of Alexei Navalny, a man who has transcended his role as a political activist to become the beacon of opposition in Russia. Discover the roots of Navalny's anti-corruption crusade, his strategic use of blogging to sway public opinion, and his daring venture to forge a new political movement with his party, Russia of the Future. The journey from anti-corruption, blogger, to political phenom. Tune in to unravel how a simple blogging platform, Live Journal, became the catapult for Navalny's political journey, transforming him from an outspoken advocate to a major political force. Survey the daring tactics employed by Navalny to shake the foundations of shareholder meetings and wrestle with the dilemmas faced by those who dare to venture into the risky arena of Russian politics. In this dynamic narrative, you'll uncover the unexpected role of blogging in shaping a political platform, strategies for challenging corporate giants at their own game, the perils and perseverance required to survive as a politician in Russia's high-stakes political environment. Venture into the world of Alexei Navalny, where the fight against corruption and the pursuit of a new vision for Russia coalesce into an engrossing story of resilience and determination. Part 1. A modern-day David versus Goliath in Russia's political battleground. It's a frosty Sunday in mid-January, and Alexei Navalny is making a pivotal journey from Berlin's Brandenburg airport, flying straight into the belly of the political beast, Russia. Despite narrowly escaping death by poisoning, a tactic critics attribute to the Kremlin's shadowy operations, Navalny is steadfast in his resolve, dismissive of the fear that might cripple an average man. Navalny's determination to face his homeland, despite knowing the iron bars of a Russian cell likely await him, is a testament to the indomitable spirit that has characterized his two-decade crusade in the Russian political theater. The essence of his mission: For 2 decades, Alexei Navalny has shaken up the complex world of Russian politics. Born into the modest surroundings of Putin near Moscow, the seeds of Navalny's future crusade were sown early, against the fading backdrop of the Soviet Union. His parents, whilst far from political firebrands, instilled a sense of liberal thinking in their son, a framework that would flourish following the collapse of the USSR. Embracing the sense of newfound freedom, Navalny, at the tender age of 17, dreamed of a Russia anchored in democratic tenets and the dynamism of a free market. With ambitions that mirrored the promises of a post-Soviet world, he sought academic grounding in law and economics, a dual mastery that would serve him well in the years to come. Understanding the alchemy of wealth and influence, Navalny deftly navigated the spheres of banking and real estate, emerging not only prosperous but poised to step into the political arena. There, he crafted an identity as both a family man and a shrewd political operator, balancing on the tightrope stretched between liberal advocacies and nationalistic sentiments. Throughout the labyrinth of Russian governance, Navalny has been a relentless force of opposition. As a pioneer of anti-corruption and the founding stone of Russia of the future, he stands in defiant contrast to Putin's Russia United Party. Indeed, capturing the full measure of a man like Navalny is no small feat, a conundrum composed of equal parts pragmatism, idealism, and undying ambition. Part 2. Disrupting the Oil Giants, Navalny's Spotlight on Corruption. Imagine the wealthy elites gathered in a polished boardroom expecting another run-of-the-mill shareholder meeting for Surgutneftgaz, one of Russia's oil behemoths. This scene, set in April 2008, is about to be disrupted by Alexei Navalny's relentless pursuit of transparency and accountability. As CEO Vladimir Bogdanov presides, Navalny transforms the staid setting into an impromptu tribunal, demanding answers to the murky underpinnings of Russian corporate governance. His relentless questioning dispatches shockwaves through the audience, not for their benefit, but for the digital crowd that Navalny has cultivated, alerting them to the questionable dealings within Russia's corporate giants. The essence of his venture. Navalny used his wealth to launch a vast anti-corruption campaign. In the chaos following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the nation's assets shifted from public to private control, forming an oligarchy intertwined with state power. This new aristocracy thrived on shadowy transactions, entrenching a culture of corruption that Navalny was determined to unearth. Leveraging his financial acumen, Navalny embarked on a mission of shareholder activism in 2006. His strategy was shrewd: acquire stakes in major companies and use the position to probe their financial secrets. With every slice of opaque dealings revealed on his LiveJournal blog, Navalny not only exposed corruption, but also galvanized public opinion. His campaign struck gold in 2010, with the exposure of a staggering $4 billion black hole in Transneft's accounts during a major pipeline project. Though the subsequent investigation lost steam, the message resonated loudly, placing corruption squarely in the media spotlight. Focusing his endeavors, Navalny founded the Anti-Corruption Foundation, FBK, in February 2012, uniting his efforts under one banner. The FBK channels donations into unveiling dirty deals, fraud, and the corrupt funneling of riches to the few, often at the expense of the many. Its YouTube exposés went viral, striking chords with a citizenry weary of systemic bribery and embezzlement. However, along with acclaim, such crusading brought Navalny a cavalcade of adversaries among Russia's power brokers, signaling the precariousness of his quest to clean the Orgian stables of Russian politics. Part 3. Navalny's bid to reshape Russia, a fight against the political behemoth. Even as a teenager, Navalny was consumed by a fascination for political law, delving into the writings of Voltaire and intently observing the power shifts of the nascent post-Soviet Russia. Fast forward to his 40s, and that fervent political spark has evolved into a full-blown inferno, By 2016, Navalny has set his sights on the highest echelon of Russian leadership, launching his presidential aspirations with a polished YouTube manifest. Navalny broached subjects close to the heart of the Russian populace: the gaping chasm of inequality, tax reform, international relations, and the cancer of corruption eating at the nation's core. He surged ahead, doggedly attempting to secure a place in Russia's Byzantine political process. Yet, as 2017 dawned, his stride was broken by the Kremlin's roadblocks, veiled in legal technicalities born from questionable embezzlement accusations. Despite this setback, the next chapters of Navalny's political saga remain unwritten and brimming with potential. The core of his journey is this: throughout his uneven political career, Navalny has sought to unseat Russia's ruling party. Fusing the mind of a capitalist with the heart of a political reformer, young Navalny celebrated the end of Soviet restrictions. His subsequent venture into business segued into a stint with the liberal Yabloko party, where he ascended rapidly, although the party itself never managed to capture the national imagination. As Russian sentiment swayed towards nationalism in the 2000s, Navalny mirrored this shift, departing Yabloko to inaugurate Narod, an alliance advocating liberal economics alongside conservative views on immigration and Russian heritage. Although ultimately short-lived, Narod left its mark on Navalny's reputation. Rocketing to fame through his anti-corruption initiatives, Navalny's political endeavors also ignited. He did not mince words when disparaging United Russia, the dominant party, as a cadre of corruption. In 2011, he championed smart voting, a tactic to dilute United Russia's power, which continued its stronghold despite massive protests that followed its victory. Though his mayoral bid for Moscow was unsuccessful, Navalny's resolve remained steadfast. His presidential campaign in 2018 was an ambitious strike at the hegemony of Putin's Russia, but embezzlement allegations, criticized internationally, derailed his candidacy. Navalny, now cornered into the role of protester rather than candidate, vows to forge on in his mission to bring about change from outside the conventional political arena. Part 4. From grassroots activism to national outcry. Navalny's protest network takes shape. On the surface, Russia's political system flaunts the trappings of a democratic entity, punctuated by the staples of elections and the presence of multiple parties. But beneath this veneer, the reality is far less pluralistic. The ruling party reigns supreme, seemingly unchallenged in crucial contests. In such a repressive climate, those pushing for reform must navigate outside the electoral ring, finding their voice through public protests and demonstrations. Faced with exclusion from the official political domain, Navalny has honed protest into his primary weapon of influence. Recently, this move has cemented itself as a tremendously astute and powerful strategy. The heart of the story: Navalny grew his movement into a lively activist and protest network. Protests aren't new to Navalny. He's no stranger to the march, the slogan, the crowd's collective heart beating for change. Following the disputed 2011 elections, which suspiciously fortified Putin's United Russia party, Navalny was swept up in the waves of public dissent, leading to his detention alongside hundreds of fellow demonstrators. Unbroken, upon his release, he returned to the fray, openly condemning the Kremlin for its authoritarian tactics. As Navalny ventured into the presidential race, he knew the path would be fraught with barriers. Together with political strategist Leonid Volkov, they devised a plan to mobilize supporters, even in the face of potential campaign derailment. The duo invoked the power of social media and public assemblies, spurring the uninterested and the weary to rally across more than 90 urban centers, a demonstration of unity and defiance tracing the breadth of the nation. A pillar of their strategy involved galvanizing the peripheries of Russia. The campaign channeled resources into planting offices in the farthest reaches, enlisting and partnering with local activists who knew the pulse of their communities. Even as officials scrambled to stifle the burgeoning movement by rejecting protest permits. A network of underground rallies and gatherings arose, thanks to the groundwork laid by seasoned local organizations. Crucially, Navalny's movement embraced the full mosaic of Russian society. It transcended the typical demographics, reaching out its hands to workers and pensioners, the disenfranchised and the overlooked. Thus, when Navalny's freedom was snatched away by the authorities in 2021, a ripple of readiness vibrated through his supporters. Waves of protesters flooded the streets across the country, answering the call of imprisonment with a chorus of dissent and solidarity. Part 5. The Kremlin's countermoves against the tide of opposition. The winter grips Russia with its icy fingers, yet the icy chill is no deterrent for the nearly 200,000 who muster the warmth of their conviction, taking to the streets in early 2021. They're unified by the arrest of Alexei Navalny, a man who returned from a brush with death by poisoning, only to be clamped in chains for allegedly violating parole from a previous embezzlement case. The public's fury is palpable, but does it rattle the iron foundations of Putin's regime? That remains a matter shrouded in ambiguity. Here lies the crux of the confrontation. Putin's party actively works to keep opposition like Navalny from power. Nesting atop the summit of Russian politics, Putin and the United Russia Party appear unassailable. Yet beneath their seemingly unmovable facade, a relentless battle simmers. The ruling party is unceasing in its efforts to cement its grip across the government, media narrative, and the hearts of the populace. Quelling the Navalny-led opposition surge forms a critical battle in their overarching war to fortify their dominion. A colossal component of United Russia's campaign is the mythic portrayal of Putin. They orchestrate demonstrations of devotion, orchestrating pro-Putin rallies and touting the narrative in schools and workplaces, painting their leader as the vigilant guardian against the ghosts of Western influence. This strategic lionization casts dissenters in the dangerous light of disloyalty, framing Navalny and his ilk as detractors of the motherland. Parallel to this, Putin's administration cranks the machinery to obstruct any dissemination of dissenting information. In a tactical move in July 2017, the corridors of power passed legislation that armed the government with the tool to cloak high-level officials' data, a clear sabotage of initiatives like Navalny's FBK, which thrives on transparency. Reinforcing this, the state's vigilant eyes scrutinize the web, ready to smother any flickers of anti-Putin sentiment at their inception. The final gambit in the Kremlin stratagem strikes at the very heart of democratic expression: the election. As the landscape of candidacy becomes a treacherous battleground, the slate of potential disruptors, including Navalny and his allies, eager to contest for Moscow City Council in 2019, was scrubbed clean from the ballot. Disqualifying formal electoral challenge funnels popular dissent into the street, propelling the populace towards the last resort of protest for their stifled voices. Part 6. A mission locked behind bars, but a movement that endures. On an early February day in 2021, a familiar scene unfolds. Alexei Navalny is facing the cold interiors of a Russian courtroom. The charges? Failing to meet his parole officers due to his hospitalization in Germany after a near-fatal poisoning. To his supporters, it's clear that these accusations are mere smokescreens for a more sinister motive: retribution for challenging President Putin's authority and daring to survive an attempt on his life. Regardless, Navalny is sentenced to serve 2 years and 8 months in custody. As the seasons change, he finds himself held within the confines of a corrective labor colony in the Vladimir region, grappling with an uncertain fate. Here is the crucial insight: Navalny remains in prison, but his political movement will continue. Navalny's incarceration has been fraught with pettiness and provocation, facing rebukes for minor infractions such as his choice of clothing or his informal way of addressing his guards. Deemed a flight risk, he endures regular disruptions to his rest, counteracted with a hunger strike, though without tangible results. Meanwhile, in an apparent effort to uproot Navalny's legacy, Russian authorities have clamped down on his political apparatus, detaining key figures of the Anti-Corruption Foundation, FBK, and imposing an extremist organization label upon it. This criminalizes any support for FBK and casts a shadow of persecution over anyone connected to it. Navalny's tangible political victories might seem modest, the 2013 Moscow mayoral race being a notable highlight. Only about 19% of Russians are ardent endorsers of Navalny's initiatives, despite his widespread recognition. But the impact of Navalny's endeavors is not restricted to electoral success. His relentless crusade against corruption has unearthed the deep-rooted issues plaguing Russian governance, casting a global spotlight on the authoritarian tendencies manifested within its borders. Moreover, his smart voting strategy harbors the potential to unravel the electoral dominance of the United Russia Party. What's perhaps most consequential is the symbolic weight of Navalny's work. His unwavering stance against autocracy has ignited the aspirations of countless Russians, compelling them to exercise their political will. Ultimately, though Navalny's own prospects may be shrouded in mist, the flight of his movement soars on without him, propelled forward by a new wave of activists yearning for change. In the pursuit of a more democratic Russia, Navalny's legacy remains robust and undeterred. The seeds he's planted in the quest for justice have taken root, with a generation ready to carry the torch and navigate their nation toward a more just and transparent horizon. Final summary. Embark on a journey through the turbulent political landscape of Russia, and you will find a figure who has persistently carved a name for himself: Alexei Navalny. He's not just a household name for his political defiance, but the embodiment of opposition in a system that often seems impervious to change. Navalny's history is rich, from a solid foundation in business that set him up for success to a turning point where he channeled his acumen into anti-corruption crusades. Navalny's zeal for politics wasn't content with staying on the sidelines. His mission evolved into leading a compelling, countrywide endeavor that aimed to dilute the influence of Putin's potent United Russia Party. His narrative took a dark twist in 2020 with an assassination attempt that nearly took his life, followed by his controversial imprisonment on charges that besieged his entry into formal politics. Yet, even as Navalny's direct influence may be curbed by prison walls, his legacy stimulates a surge of political consciousness across Russia. The torch of change he lit has been passed on to a vibrant collective of Russians who, fueled by Navalny's example, could be the architects of a new era of transparency and reform in their motherland. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.